So it was summer 1995. My mom informed me that for some of the summer I was going to be staying with her at the elementary school that she taught at. She kept talking, I don't remember if it was for maybe like summer school or maybe she had some meetings that she had to attend. I zoned out when she told me that. I just stopped paying attention as my mind raced with excitement. The school that my mom worked at was statewide known for having a Star Trek space camp simulator thing that boggled the mind. Every sixth grader in the region got to go with their class for 4 hours from all around. They would basically LARP on the ship. You know, we'd have a captain.
I am Captain Planet! Captain Planet, he's our hero.
First officer.
I don't need your fantasy women.
Engineering.
Butterfly in the sky.
Security.
Captain, this may be our only chance.
No. We would have weapons specialists.
You know, like nunchuck skills, bow hunting skills, computer hacking skills.
Helmsman.
Sir, I know this may finish me as an acting ensign, but...
Shut up, Wesley!
Shut up, Wesley?
Doctor.
And since I am finished here, sir, may I point out that...
Shut up, Wesley!
All that stuff, and each person in your class was assigned a duty. It was freaking amazing. And I think if I remember from some of my research, Paramount even had a little bit to do with it. I remember we got some communiques, you know, put it on screen, and they were wearing the full Star Trek regalia. And in my class, I was given the job of weapons specialist. My little Macintosh computer in front of me, I was watching it, and all of a sudden the mouse cursors started moving around and clicking on stuff really fast. And I was just kind of like, what's going on here? You know, and I didn't tell the captain, I didn't tell the first officer, I just watched it, and it moved around, clicked on stuff. I didn't know what a remote administrator was.
I don't see any movement. Are we getting closer?
It doesn't look like it yet.
No, wait.
Warning, this vessel is approaching satellite fields, now slowing full stop.
Full stop.
Next thing you know, in front of us on the view screen, there was a Romulan warbird or whatever, and they decloaked. And they had turned off our weapons and shields for my console, and they boarded us and they destroyed us. But that was in 6th grade when I went. This point in life had not been on the thing yet, but I had heard about it from literally everyone. So when my mom says I was going to her school, I knew that space simulator was there. I thought, you know, that's what I'm going to be going there for. Mike, are you even listening to me? Mike! Oh, I snapped out of it. Yeah, Mom, I was totally listening to you. I lied. So I wager you've signed me up for the entire Space Center summer deal or whatnot, right? Now, guys, I implore you, it's called the Christa Mcauliffe Space Education Center. Check out the vids on YouTube. The place is amazing. And sometimes they even open it to adults. Sometimes it's out of business and then it reopens. They make documentaries about it. People are obsessed with it who grew up in the area. The Christa Mcauliffe Space Education Center at Central Elementary, Pleasant Grove, Utah. Check it out. But much to my dismay, my mom informed me that I was not going to be able to even step foot on the bridge of that Star Trek vessel at her work. She's told me that since it was so popular that even if she wanted me on board, we'd have to pay full price and it was already completely booked out. She did tell me she was going to let me bring my NES and she was going to push out, you know, one of those CRT TVs. You know the one. When they brought it into class, that was like the best day of school ever. Yeah, rolled one of those out for me, or at least she said she was going to. Now, if you guys have been following my YouTube videos, you guys know in 1995, the summer before, summer 96, I believe. So, summer before 95 was the summer I actually got the NES. I mean, it could have been the same summer, but I'm pretty sure, I don't know, maybe it was the summer before 96. But 95, 96, I had just gotten an NES. And I'd already played all the games I owned for it. However, I knew a girl down the street, and she had a brother that actually collected every RPG ever. He was actually a manager at McDonald's, you know, one of the regional guys or something like that. You make pretty good money.
My magic box makes us lunch.
What's in McDonald's Happy Meal? One of 4 Nintendo Super Mario Brothers 3 toys.
When you go into his house, he had every RPG for NES, every RPG for SNES, and his PlayStation 1 RPG collection blew my mind. I remember going over there and just seeing it stacked to the ceiling. You know, just game by game by game. It's got to be worth so much money. Anyways, I knew that Katie would always let me borrow like some NES games because, you know, I'd always return them back in good condition, and she was just awesome girl. Awesome girl. She's into Sailor Moon, Pokemon, video games, RPGs, really cool person. And her brother was even cooler. Like his collection, his house is the first place I witnessed Final Fantasy VII, first person to let me borrow Chrono Trigger. Just amazing people. So I jumped on my Huffy bike and I pedaled around the block over to Katie's house. When I asked her, you know, hey, I'm gonna be at the school for the summer, do you mind if I borrow some games? She just brought me right down to her dungeon. She had a really amazing play place under her house that they called the dungeon. Had like playhouses, video games, comic books, all sorts of cool stuff. But what I was looking for was the box of NES games. When I looked inside, I started flipping through the game. Magic of Jade or something like that. Adventure of Link, Battle of Olympus, Legend of Zelda, Dragon Warrior, Zoda's Revenge. When finally, at the very back of the video games, I saw a game that had a crystal ball, a sword, a battle axe, something like that. You know, I asked Katie, like, well, what about this game? What's this game all about? But she told me, you know, hey, I also have Final Fantasy 2 and 3 for Super Nintendo, which are way better. But at the time, I had no Super Nintendo. So I asked her if I could go ahead and borrow Final Fantasy. She told me it was about 4 warriors of light, and that you're kind of able to pick, you know, what type of warriors you brought into battle. She said you set on a quest, you're able to, you know, gain new abilities. You get a canoe, you get a boat, you get an airship, your characters grow up into more powerful characters. It just sounded like a really crazy idea at the time to me. I hadn't played very many RPGs yet, but this family who would let me borrow games were the reason why I love them to this day. When I got back home, my mom was in the driveway looking at her watch, complaining, asking, where the heck did you go? You know, I'm gonna be late for my blah, 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 blah. Like, hold up, I had to get a game, super important. Now, when we arrived at the school, she told me that I would have to wait and play my Game Boy until lunchtime because she was late and couldn't go find a TV for me just then. And she told me to stay put. Of course, as soon as she left, I wandered out into the hallway. I knew I could find one of those TVs, you know, one of those, the ones that make your day. They're usually in the science classroom because those teachers are lazy, or sometimes they would be in the history classrooms. I just checked a few of the classrooms near and I found one that was open and had a TV right there. Kind of a newer CRT. Wasn't like the, you know, the knobs or the UHF and VHF. It was a little bit newer, had a remote, looked impressive. I had to get it back to my room. So I went over to the door and checked to see if the coast was clear. The coast was clear, so I started pushing the TV out in the hallway. I was almost back to the classroom my mom put me in when I heard a door open behind me. I glanced behind me and I saw incoming Mr. Worthington. Mr. Worthington was a principal of mine when I was a kid, and he didn't like me because I ended up in his office way a lot of times. And I think he was my mom's boss at the time, so I wasn't too stoked to see Mr. Worthington. I started walking faster and blew around the corner. As soon as he was out of sight, I hit a sprinting pace with the TV, fast as I could until I got back to the room my mom had designated for me that had my Nintendo safely inside. As I approached the classroom, I jumped up on the cart, riding it to a stop, narrowly missing one of the statues and bumping into the trophy case right outside the room my mom had given to me. I hooked up the NES, which thankfully I didn't have to use those 2 prong things like on most old TVs. I was able to just put it in through the coaxial from the back.
The Nintendo Entertainment System. Your parents help you hook it up.
I put Final Fantasy in, press play. Of course, it didn't work. Took it back out, blew inside of it, and tried again. Now, as the music started for this game, I was actually kind of taken aback. The music for an NES game was so beautiful. I remember the intro talking about the heroes of light just blew my mind at the sheer beauty that the music conveyed to my eardrum. I chose my characters. First, I wanted to choose one of each, and then I realized there was more than 4 characters you could choose from. I think I ended up going with a black mage, a warrior, a ninja, and a red mage. I don't know if that's the most balanced party, but I think the red mage could heal a little bit where I didn't have a white mage helping me out. I do distinctly remember the first kingdom was the kingdom of Conaria. Not Corneria, but Conaria. First planet of the Lilac system. The evil Andros. Oh, wrong game. Found out from the king or the whoever the hell it was in there that we were the 4 warriors of light. And that we had to go fight some evil up north in some castle. His name was Garland. I remember the next year when we went to visit my grandfather, a little exit on the side of the freeway on the way to Idaho was named Garland. And that exit on the way to Idaho was probably more renowned and more vicious than this first boss. We got in there, we got in that castle up there, and we mopped the floor with Garland. We wrapped him around our banister and called it Christmas. That summer blew by. I battled and battled. I leveled up and I leveled up. I canoed around. I got the canoe. I got the boat. I went down in like volcanoes. I had to borrow Nintendo power from some of my mom's friends from school's kids that I talked about in another video. I kept fighting and fighting, pushing the story further and further. Every night, packing up the NES and going home. Next day, same routine. Packing it up, going in, setting it up, playing it again. Dope thing about this game is it did not use passwords like a lot of other NES fare at the time. This one had battery backup. So every time I was able to just save my game without writing down like the whole alphabet 17 times. I remember that Katie told me like my characters grew up at one point. That's what I wanted to do. At the time I didn't know you had to do kind of like a special mission to make them kind of evolve to the next level. There was no way really to tell how far into the game I was. The Final Fantasy Nintendo powers that I did borrow I think only showed a few maps. I just figured I had to be close to my characters evolving or growing up or whatever you called it. I probably clocked over 40 hours that summer. You know, I got lost so many times in the game and in a time literally right before internet. That next year, a guy in my neighborhood was the first kid to get internet.
Americans own a personal computer. If you're one of them, you can now glimpse the future with nothing more than a modem, a phone line, and a few dollars.
In recent years, a relatively unknown communication system called the Internet has exploded in popularity with such intensity that it's predicted that over 25 million people will be using it by the year 1998. There is nothing in the history of the human race that compares to the impact that the Internet will have on how we communicate. The question is not whether you'll become part of that action, but when.
I got lost so many times that I leveled up so high that we were just decimating everyone that came in our path. I remember my Final Fantasy characters were all named after my best friends at the time. I think we had JK, Benji, Chase, Mike. That was my name. That is my name. You know, prior to Kodak taking over. All right, so fast forward to the end of my stay with my mom. I had 3 days left. I think it was a Monday. I had taken a break over the weekend from Final Fantasy. I got in the room. I unzipped my baby blue and red Nintendo Entertainment System official carrying case, pulled my Nintendo out, put it on the table, rolled over the TV, put it right in front of the chair, put the Nintendo underneath the TV on the cart, ran the AC adapter to the plug, took the aux cable, and put it into the TV. I sat down super excited. I knew today was going to be the day that everyone was going to evolve or whatever was going to happen next was going to happen. I pressed the power button. Started up first time. It was miraculous. Didn't have to blow. I clicked on continue game. I blinked and then I blinked again. It was early, but I wasn't seeing things. I saw 3 blank blue boxes. No. What the hell is going on? I turned off the game, praying to myself that it was just a glitch. I turned the system back on, the game would be restored, everything would be gravy. Power on. Continue. No! 3 blank boxes again. I turned it off and on for what seemed like a million times, praying every time that it was gonna work, but my hope diminished. The game was gone. I lost all my progress, and it was never coming back. My guys never grew up or evolved. I never got to face the final boss. The thought of putting all that work into that game all over again that had taken the entire summer to achieve did not seem like an appealing proposition, knowing that any day I could lose it all over again. Now, I'm gonna make admission here. I turned off Final Fantasy I that day and never turned it on again for the rest of my entire life. But I will say the game made some long-lasting impacts on me, and it was one of the funnest summers I ever had with a video game. Yeah, you know, I was cooped up in the place. Yeah, I lost all my data, but that game gave me a love for that sort of thing, you know, and D&D and Dragonlance and, you know, RPGs in general. If it wasn't for that summer of Final Fantasy, I probably wouldn't have half the taste that I do. So I will always remember that game, and it was one of my first and greatest RPGs. All right, guys, I want to thank everybody for coming out to I Remember Gaming. We've got some unboxings to do that we've already filmed. You can see we've got tons of stuff on the shelf. We're going to go back in time later and unbox that. All right, I will see you guys next time. Take it easy, and remember,
it's a Kodak moment.
Oh.